Welcome everybody, Juan here, and today we're going to see another calculations with Tableau video. What you're seeing right here is fake data. There are some actuals, there is a forecast. Some things that are important to notice is there are 2 months that don't contain any actuals for whatever reason, perhaps a mistake. And there is a point in time, which is July 2021, in which actuals stop, but we still have some forecasting data. The last thing that is important to notice is when you look at the data, you notice that this is not in the right format. So we have this column called type that contains forecast and actuals on top of each other, making it very difficult for us to really just see what was the difference between the forecast and the actual. There is a way to solve this with a window function or a table calculation, but what we're going to do today involves level of detail expressions. So the way that I solved this one was firstly to give actuals and forecast their own columns. And to do that, well, I use an intermediate if. Could have used also an if statement. If type is equal to actual, then give me the value, otherwise null. This one I'm going to call it actual. And this thing right here kind of works, but it only shows me, well, data for the actuals. If you check here the data, the part that it says actual, it's correct. It's giving us the value that we need, but the forecasting part is not yet ready. So it's completely empty. To populate these in values based on the months in the forecasting rows, we need to use a level of detail expression. Now, this calculation is going to be much simpler in this data set than in real life, just because I don't have that many other columns and that many other problems. But the solution that I employed look more or less like this. So fixed on a date and then a sum. We close the sum with another right bracket, and finally a mustache to close my calculation. Then I formatted this properly. Now, if the fix needs to go on another line, yes or no, that's arbitrary, I guess. And now, if you check carefully, we have what we wanted. So we see here that the column called actual contains the right value in both the forecast and the actual. But when you look at the data source, and this is maybe a fun fact, you don't see it anymore. That's because LODs are not always present on a row by row basis. And that's why Tableau hides them from you in this data source pane. But we can see from here that this is exactly the result that we want. So I'm going to duplicate this one here and do exactly the same with the forecast. And you see how this is taking shape. Let's just check, and indeed this is exactly what we wanted. We don't need the value column anymore. We don't need the type also either. And now, because we have finally a column with the right values, we can calculate the difference without using a table calculation. The difference is quite simple. It is the sum of the actuals minus the sum of the forecast. It says equal, my bad. It should, I'm doing this insert thing, but I fixed it. Great. And now we are going to call this the delta or difference, or however you want to call it. What matters is when I add it and we check, this seems to be correct. All right, so looks like this delta, which actually should probably be here, this is giving us the right result. And now we are free to use it without having the other two present in the visualization, which is really what would happen if you would have done a table calculation. But that's good. And now we have just one more thing that we would like to fix, and that is we would like to remove all of the rows that have a forecast but that don't yet have any type of actual, without necessarily removing September 2020 and May 2020, which are the odd ones. How do we do that? Well, we're going to employ a trick that is very similar to one that some of you might know, which is the max date. What the max date essentially does is a level of detail calculation that, well, returns the max date possible in the data set. In this case, we're talking about December 2021. So if we go back to the other sheet, that's the case. December 2021 is the last month available in our data, but in reality, the one that we want is this one right here. So what we're going to do is create a new calculation, max date with actuals. And now this one is going to be equal to, if not is null for, let's put actuals here. If not is null, then I want you to give me the date end. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to compare month by month, or actually more specific, date by every row that contains a date, and check if actuals are empty. Sorry, if there is anything, so it's not null in date, it's going to return the date, and otherwise it's going to return a null. Just so that you know, you don't explicitly have to write this part, but Tableau interprets that if there is no other condition, everything else is going to become null. Just maybe a fun fact. We do this first, and now when let's do this somewhere else. It looks promising. We see right here that all of the months are present all the way until July 2021. So it just got rid of every month until July. And now from this list of months, we need to capture the latest one. And we're gonna do it once again with the max LOD. So I'm gonna type here the mustache bracket, type max, type once again the closing brackets. I like to indent my calculations properly. It's up to you how you do it. And now the formula only gives us July 2020, which is the month that we wanted. Now the very last step is to create some sort of date filter in which date is less or equal than the max date with actuals. Click on apply. And now when we select true, we see, well, here are the values for everything where it makes sense to make a comparison. And here in the subtotals, we see this is how far off the forecast was. I hope you learned quite a lot of things from this video, and thanks for watching until the very end. See you next time.